Now, I don't know if you've seen these.
Yeah, I see people chiming in and stuff. I mean, if you want to deal with them, it's based up on your time frame. You know what I'm saying? I'm satisfied with the conversation that took place and the basic conversation that I needed
Right.
for what I seen of the book. And with you giving that link out, I'll go read them 30 pages. And if I got any critique of them 30, then I most definitely will be critiquing
Yeah, so here's another thing people always want to debate about. G Checker at Vocab Malone. How do you know the so-called Jews are Jews when they say their lineage comes from their mother? When that contradicts Numbers 118, maybe they did forget who they are, huh? So, like, that's the type of thing, like, there's like a limited set. Everybody wants to debate about the Ashkenazi type Jews, and everyone wants to debate about Gentile salvation. It's like really limited in what people want to debate. And so I think we need to stretch out the parameters. Honestly, I'm not really that interested in doing a debate on who are these folk, are Ashkenazis real Jews, because I don't see how that's bearing on anyone's salvation. It's not relative to salvation. And I'm not, it's like, I don't understand. I'm not an apologist for Ashkenazi Jews. That's not my job to like try to, it's such a weird request, but we get this all the time. So I'm unlikely to do that type of debate. Now,
Vocab baloney. Vocab baloney. That's so much baloney vocab. You know, and I'm glad you gave the link out to your book. You know, and it just shows how hypocritical you are. You don't want to talk about what you call the Ashkenazis or the Khazarian Jews being Israelites or not. And you said you don't see how that's important in salvation. But in your book, on page 3, the last paragraph of the sentence is basically contradicting what you said. And did you forget that you gave the link out to your book? Did you think this wasn't going to come up, vocab baloney? And that's why I call you guys pork, because you come with so much pork doctrine. Yeah, and that was me in the chat saying that, you know, when the heat turns up, you're going to be like a lobster. So, you know, the heat wasn't turned up in that interview. And in my opinion, it was distasteful. But, you know, each person doing the interview, you know, they're welcome to whatever means and methods they choose as far as, you know, bringing out information during the interview process. But I was disappointed in that interview thoroughly. But anyways, vocab, he made it a point, and I'm glad you called out G Checker, because I really don't need your credit. I don't need your props, you know, because hey, I use screenshots and show that you avoid my questions or whatever. So when I engage you, you don't have to mention my name, because if you don't, then, you know, the proof will show that you're trying to avoid me. And I posted that question like 8 times. 8 times, and, you know, he was avoiding it. He avoided it as long as he could, but he knows this G Checker channel profile, you know, and what it's about. And it's about, you know, bringing forth the heretics and showing them, you know, basically bringing it to a head. So he ignored it as long as he could. But to be as dishonest as he was, which we're about to see, because if you really feel, vocab baloney, that the lineage or who are the true seed of Abraham is not important, then you wouldn't have made this this point on the 3rd page of your book, I don't think. And this is kind of early in your book, so you said the premise early. So you lied, vocab, you lied. And before I read this, I'm gonna go to Numbers to show you what I was talking about. And he's saying that the Ashkenazis, you know, he's not defending the Ashkenazis, or he's not defending against the Ashkenazis. So my thing is, I thought you guys were going after all heretics. That's what you said. You said you were going after all heretics, but now you're not defending against that. So you're gonna let one heretic slip between the cracks. Is that Christ-like? Was that being in the spirit? Is that anything New Testament form? So vocab, you're still showing to be a liar and a heretic at that. But let's go to Numbers 1 and 18 before I read this section that's just proving that you're a liar. All right, so I brought out Numbers 1 and 18 for vocab to deal with. You know, he was on he had his first interview with Israel Doctrine, and basically, you know, to promote his book, but as a result, he was supposed to be on the hot seat. And by him being on a hot seat, that means he's defending his book. But we see that the first question that he really dealt with was a question that I proposed, and he tap danced and ran and did everything else, because when you bring out the truth, they don't want to deal. You know, if you watch any of their videos and I'm in the chat, they try to strategically not mention me. Which, you know, I don't care. Like I said, it doesn't matter to me. Don't mention me because I don't want your support. All I'm trying to do is show that you are a heretic and you got to repent. But they don't want to do that. But I give Vocab Malone credit for putting his balls on the table and, you know, at least acknowledging the question that was proposed. I got to give him credit for that, because he knew otherwise it was coming anyways. You seen him debating when Israel Doctrine was talking to him. He was pondering. He was fidgety and everything. He was fidgeting, you know, because he knew that, you know, he was on the pendulum, because he was like, should I respond? I'm just reading his reaction. You know, he was like, should he respond or should he ignore it? And he was like, if I respond, he's going to make a video about it. If I don't respond, then he's going to say that I'm a coward. And, you know, if that's what he was thinking, he was absolutely correct. But let's deal with Numbers 1 and 18. And they assembled all the congregation together. Well, let's go to verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai. Remember, of Sinai, in the tabernacle of the congregation, on the first day of the second month, in the second year, after they come out of the land of Egypt, saying, take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel, after their families, by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls. Okay? Now let's go to 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward by their polls. Okay, so what Vocab Malone did, he tap danced. You know, he gave y'all a nice little show, and it was, and you know, he you know, his only thing was to come out passionate and say, hey, you know, I don't see how that's gonna be salvation and this, that, and the third. Oh, so you don't really have to worry about that, because I don't see that really being a topic. You know, I'm saying that these guys ain't Black Hebrew Israelites, but the Ashkenazi Jews, you know, that's not really important. Oh, really? So now you deciding that, you know, the so-called Black Hebrew Israelites are important, but the ones that are coming with all types of heresies, that's not important. I mean, if you're dealing with heretics, you should deal with it all. And you were asked a question, and as a person of Christ, you're supposed to answer that question, and you didn't. And here's why. And you used the Khazarian theory to prove your point. But I'm about to pull out the Talmud and show you that it's not just a Khazarian thing. It's a Jewish thing, that anybody that subscribes to the Talmud has that same doctrine. So once again, Vocab Malone, you are a liar. I mean, Vocab Baloney. That's what I meant to say, not Malone. Baloney, yo. Vocab Baloney. Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right. This is how we know that Vocab Baloney is full of baloney, full of pork. You know, all the pork grease, pork juice. You know, and showing a bit Edomite because he became that lobster that he thought was funny. You know. Anyways, I'm just having fun. But this is a quick Wikipedia search, and this is called matronility, or however you want to say it, matronility. All right, so basically, this is the lineage of the mother. So this is the lineage of the mother in Judaism. So this is not Khazarian. This is in Judaism, and that's what the Jewish people believe, and they practice Judaism. So by you saying that it is a Khazarian faith, that means that you're lying, because the Judaism is a Jewish person. That's what they believe, that they're Jewish. So that's Judaism, modern day Judaism. You know, when you look over there to the right of the screen, it says part of a series on Jews and Judaism. Okay? And then if you look under that, etymology, who is a Jew? Jewish peoplehood, Jewish identity. Okay? So this is not talking about Khazarian, because this is coming from the Talmud. And I got it highlighted, the Mishnah, the second paragraph, the Mishnah, the Kedushin 3, chapter 3, verse 12, states that to be a Jew, one must be either the child of a Jewish mother or a convert to Judaism. So basically, it's saying that you need a Jewish mother, or you have to convert to Judaism to be a Jew. This is referencing Khazarianism. This is referencing being a Jew. Orthodox opinion regards this rule as dating back from the reception of the Torah at Mount Sinai. Oh, did it really now? We just read Numbers 1 and 18 when they were on Mount Sinai after they left Egypt captivity. It said the pedigree was from their father. But they're saying the Orthodox, the strict Jews, regards this rule as dating from the reception of the Torah at Mount Sinai, which Numbers 1 and 18 rebukes that. Most non-Orthodox, okay, so now you say, okay, that's the Orthodox and things like that. But most non-Orthodox scholars regard it as originating either at the time of Ezra, 4th century BCE, or during the period of Roman rule in the 1st and 2nd century CE, as patrilineal descent is known to have been the standard of Judaism prior to that time. But after that time, they changed. Why did they change? So we already know the Orthodox are just full of it when they say about Mount Sinai, which is coming from Numbers. Then the ones that are not Orthodox are saying, hey, you know, it's coming from Ezra, 4th century. And, you know, I would like to see that in the Bible too. But those with common sense know that, hey, we would have to say that this came from Roman rule in 1st and 2nd century. So those are pretty much the converts. And that's why Baloney is saying the Khazarians, because he knows that, but he didn't want to deal with it. He didn't want to deal with it. And the confusing part is I have the Kedushin 3rd chapter and 12th verse pulled up, and I'm not getting that, but I'll read it anyways. I start at 9. Shall she take the money? Surely not. But Perhaps this applies only to a minor katana who has no power to accept condition. But as for a na'ara who is empowered to accept condition, let her betroth herself and take the money. The writ saith, in her youth, in her father's house, teaching all the profit of youth belongs to her father. So that's what they got from that, but I didn't get that from that. But it's a common Jewish teaching, whether it's Khazar, and basically those that follow the Babylonian Talmud, they get that from the Talmud. So Vocab Malone, baloney, you're full of it. You're full of it. So cut it out. Now let's go to your book. What you're saying, you didn't see the salvation, or it wasn't really important to you because you're not going after those folks. But you guys say, oh, you're the shield squad. If you're a heretic, we're coming for you. Oh, really? Well, you just debunked your own thing, okay? So again, you're a liar, a heretic, and you don't want to deal with the truth. Now back to your book, Vocab Malone. This is the last paragraph on page 3, and it's basically your own book is debunking you when you said you don't see the relevance in dealing with Khazarians, in your words, paraphrasing, that's really not important. So you choose not to deal with it, but this is what you deal with. I typically use Hebrew Israelites, and almost always in quotation marks. Why? There are no compelling reasons to believe that most self-identified Hebrew Israelites are truly Hebrew or Israelite, ethnically, nationally, or religiously. Quotation marks can denote a contentious phrase. For example, they call themselves Hebrew Israelite, but employ it in a non-standard way. The term Hebrew Israelite should be used cautiously, for it is not prudent to assume all self-designations have epistemic warrant. See Bruce Jenner and Rachel Dolezal. It's best to utilize a term I first heard, Dr. James White, Hebrew Israelism. So he's trying to coin the term Hebrew Israelism. But when he was posed with a question of, are the Jews, the ones that call themselves Jews, or the Israeli Jews, are they really Jews? He chose not to deal with that. But he says, there are no compelling reasons to believe that most self-identified Hebrew Israelites are truly Hebrew or Israelite, ethically, nationally, or religiously. So basically, he's identifying one group as just absolutely not Hebrew or an Israelite, but another group that are claiming that they are Israelite or Hebrews, he doesn't really want to deal with them. That shows you that he's a heretic. And let's hear him say it again in his interview. Let's see what Vocab Malone has to say and show that he's a liar.
Yeah, so here's another thing people always want to debate about. G Checker at Vocab Malone. How do you know the so-called Jews are Jews when they say their lineage comes from their mother? When that contradicts Numbers 1:18, maybe they did forget who they are, huh? So, like, that's the type of thing, like, there's like a limited set. Everybody wants to debate about the Ashkenazi type Jews, and everyone wants to debate about Gentile salvation. Is like really limited in what people want to debate. And so I think we need to stretch out the parameters. Honestly, I'm not really that interested in doing a debate on who are these folks, are Ashkenazis real Jews, because I don't see how that's bearing on anyone's salvation. It's not relative to salvation. And I'm not, it's like, I don't understand. I'm not an apologist for Ashkenazi Jews. That's not my job to like try to, it's such a weird request, but we get this all the time. So I'm unlikely to do that type of debate. Now, I'm not, It's like, I don't understand. I'm not an apologist for Ashkenazi Jews. I don't understand. I'm not an apologist for Ashkenazi. I'm not. It's like, I don't understand. I'm not an apologist for Ashkenazi Jews.
This is so sad. Vocab Malone is saying he's an apologist. They even broke it down in Acts 26:2, where it says, answer for myself. You know, answer for myself in Acts 22 is basically apologia, which is a defense. And they broke this down. I didn't even know this until they brought it out. But this is what Paul says in Acts 26, when he was basically being accused by the Jews and he was presented before Agrippa. This is what Paul said in Acts 26:2. I think myself happy, King Agrippa, because I shall answer for myself. What shall he answer for himself? This day before thee, touching all the things whereof I am accused of the Jews. He said he's going to touch on all things. Okay, so if you're going to be an apologist according to Acts 26:2, you were accused of being a heretic, and I asked you a question, and in your book, you made it a point to defend your stance on Hebrew Israelism, as you call it, Vocab Malone. But when you were posed with a question, and you know, in the way that it was presented, and basically I was asking you in the chat in so many words, why are you dealing with the Hebrew Israelites on Hebrew Israelism, as you said, but you don't want to deal with the Jews? And he said he's not an apologist for the Jews. But it says that Paul said, I should answer for myself this day before thee, touching all things whereof I am accused of the Jews. So that lets you know vocab is a liar. And Paul said again, because I shall answer for myself this day before thee, touching all the things. All the things. Vocab Malone, you're a heretic. You're baloney. You're a pork. You got a pork doctrine. You're swine. You're done. And you're going to keep getting exposed for your heresies.
I don't understand. I'm not an apologist for Ashkenazi. I'm not. It's like, I don't understand. I'm not an apologist for Ashkenazi Jews.